In the last class, we studied the poem You Laughed and Laughed, written by Gabriel O'Cara. In this particular session, let us discuss the structure and the poetic devices Gabriel O'Cara uses in this poem. So, before doing that, let us recap or revise whatever we learned in the previous session. You see, in the previous lesson, we learned that the poem is a satiric dramatic monologue. It is a monologue where the speaker addresses the listener, an European listener, one who colonized the Africans. And we came to know that the whites laughed at the African songs, their dance, their music, which brought out the inner feelings and emotions of the Africans. Towards the end of the poem, it is the turn of the blacks or the natives to laugh at the Europeans. The Africans laughed at the European culture, Europeans' passion. They attacked the whites or the Europeans as Trojan people, and almost they are dead. So in this poem, O'Cara beats the beats of Africa. He beats the drum of Africa and proclaims loudly to the Europeans that Africa is not what they think of. So in this particular poem, in this session, let us learn the structure and the devices, poetic devices used in this poem. So the poem consists of 10 stanzas. There are 10 stanzas in this poem. As I told you already, it is a dramatic monologue, and the poet satirizes the Europeans, their passions, their strengths, and their practices. So in this poem, the African speaker addresses the white colonizer who colonized Africa. So the poem presents the interplay. Interplay means interaction. Interaction between these two cultures. So we come across two different views. One is the African view and another one is the European view. There is an interaction or interplay between these two cultures and two different views. So we find different interpretations of the same sound, same sights, and the same dances. There is an European view of the African dance, African sound, African sights, and African dances. Europeans look at the Africans' music, African sights, and dances in a different way. They look at the African culture as a primitive one, meaningless one, uncivilized one, whereas the Africans view their culture as the supreme one which is lively, vibrant, full of energy, which is quite natural. So we find two different views presented in this poem. So the poet subverts the Eurocentric view that Africans are primitive in this poem. Eurocentric means focused on the European people, European culture, and Europe. Everything is Eurocentric. Europeans propound their own philosophy, their own views, their own culture as the supreme one when compared to the African culture. And they view that African culture is primitive, an old one, not a civilized one, but an uncivilized one. But the poet in this particular poem subverts. Subvert means overturns or overthrows or opposes. He opposes it very clearly and presents that African culture is in no way inferior to the European culture. Their culture is also supreme. Their culture is also excellent. But Europeans fail to understand the real nature of their culture. So, in this poem, the poet Gabriel Okara subverts the Eurocentric view and he affirms, categorically states that negritude theme. He states or defends his own negritude theme in this poem. You know, negritude means which is related to the Black American culture, Black American descent, Black American values and identity. Africans, through their negritude movement, defended their own culture, their own habits, their own life. So, in this poem, the poet overturns the Eurocentric view and defends his own negritude theme in this particular poem. So, during the colonial rule, when the Europeans colonized Africa, the colonizers exploited the Africans, they humiliated the Africans to a greater extent, they belittled Americans, ridiculed the Africans, ridiculed their culture, they ridiculed their song, they ridiculed the walk of the Africans, even they ridiculed or belittled the magic dance of the Africans. So the poet subverts this Eurocentric view. Europeans wanted to impose their own culture on the Africans. They called the Africans as primitive ones, savage people, uncivilized people, and they were there to reform them, give them new culture, new way of life. But these colonizers defended their act of colonizing the Africans as a philanthropic mission to civilize the primitive natives. Philanthropic is improvising the life of the people who are not civilized, not cultured. Improvising their own life, improvising their culture. The Europeans say that they are there in Africa not to rule Africa or not to loot the wealth or resources of Africa, but to civilize the people of Africa. They are there as the representatives of the God to civilize, to give them new values, new culture, new language, new religion. They defended their colonization in this way. They called or treated Africans as the primitive ones, uncivilized ones. And it was their mission, responsibility to civilize these people. But after independence, after African nations got independence, they got an opportunity to attack the Europeans for this Eurocentric views, Eurocentric mission. After independence, the blacks or the Africans were empowered. They got the freedom. So then they started laughing back at the Europeans. They got an opportunity, they got the strength to laugh at the European way of living, European culture, Europeans' thought processes. The Africans asserted, defended their own identity as Africans. They felt proud of being Africans. They felt proud of being the black people. They felt proud of being the primitives. They defended their own culture, their own way of life. So these natives or the Africans laughed at the whites They ridiculed the whites later after they got independence. When they were empowered by independence, they started counterattacking the Europeans who colonized them and belittled, ridiculed them earlier. They called these Europeans as ice blocks. Ice block, as you know, is very very cold. It has no warmness. It has no strength, vibrancy, and other things. Ice block is a symbol of death. So the Africans call the Europeans as ice blocks, dead things, lifeless things. They ridicule them as the people who belong to the materialistic culture, who ride in motor cars. They are not able to walk like the Africans. Africans are strong enough to walk on their feet, that on their bare foot. But these Europeans, who are the colonizers, who say that they are more powerful than the Africans, are not able to walk on their own, walk on their foot. They make use of the motor cars. They are dependent on the missionaries. They ridiculed the Europeans for that. Even the emotions of the Europeans are frozen. They have gone cold. They have no emotions, no strong feelings. They cannot enjoy the dance, music, and so many other things. They fail to understand because their emotions are not as strong as the emotions of the Africans. On the other hand, Africans, in their tradition of negritude, primitivism is identified and integrated with nature. For the Africans, in their tradition of negritude, primitivism, which is ridiculed by the Europeans, is identified and it is integrated with nature. Primitivism is not something downtrodden, negligent. It is the way of their own culture. It is a part of nature, strength of nature. So they defend their own culture against the ice block culture of the Europeans. So the poet very clearly states in this particular poem, he states the African culture is a natural one, whereas the European culture is artificial one. It is materialistic, but the African culture is very very natural. The whites who could not appreciate the black song, blacks walk, blacks dance, and their energy first started to develop interest in it later. In the beginning, the Europeans could not appreciate the dance of the black people, the walk of the black people. Even they derided their figure, their dance, their energy. But later, something attracted them and developed an interest in the African culture. So they try to know the secret of the African culture, the liveliness or warmth of the African culture. So then it was the turn of the black people or the Africans to laugh at the whites' fashionless life in post-colonial times. The poet very clearly states that the Europeans lead a fashionless life, and during the post-colonial period when the Africans are free from the clutches of the Europeans, they laugh at the Europeans, they retaliate the Europeans, they counterattack the Europeans for their use on the African culture, African people. So the Africans try to rehumanize the whites from its rigid mechanical way of life. Europeans looked at the African culture from the mechanical way of life. They did not look at the Africans from the natural way of life. Their way of looking was totally different. So the Africans tried to rehumanize. They call them inhuman human beings. Their culture is inhuman. They try to rehumanize the white people or the Europeans. So the poem projects the pre-colonial times to be the state of comfort and happiness for the Africans. So the poet very clearly states in this poem that pre-colonial period in Africa was a very comfortable state for the Africans. The Africans were very happy before colonization. They led their own life, practiced their own culture. They enjoyed their life in the lap of nature. But it is the advent of the Europeans to the land of Africa made their life miserable. So there was an interplay of these two cultures. And the Africans found it very difficult to adjust themselves to this clash or to the new culture. So the onset of colonization, the process of colonization led to the misery and unhappiness of the Africans. Colonization pushed the Africans into misery and pushed their life into unhappiness. Colonization led the Africans to the pursuit of happiness in the bondage. They were enslaved. Their happiness was snatched away, taken away from the Europeans. So they started pursuing or fighting for their happiness, lost happiness. They wanted to free themselves from the bondage of the Europeans. They got their happiness back with the attainment of freedom from the European colonizers. So, one particular critic, Dr. Panchali Mukherjee, points out three kinds of happiness in this particular poem. Three kinds of happiness enjoyed by the Africans in their own land. She points out three kinds of happiness the Africans enjoyed in their own land. First, she talks about the pleasant life the Africans enjoyed in their own land. It is evident in Africans being at home in their land. In pre-colonial Africa, Africans were at their home. They were free from the bondage of the Europeans, colonizers. They enjoyed their life. They led a very pleasant life in their own land. So the poet emphasizes that they belong to the earth, and the warmth of the earth gives them pleasure to their naked feet. So at this particular stage, the Africans, they belong to the earth, not to the Europeans, not to the materials. They were a part and parcel of natural things like earth. They are owned by the earth and they enjoyed the warmth of the earth. They got pleasure walking on their bare feet. So their life was very pleasant. So this fact foregrounds the fact that they are at home on their own earth. So these people were on their own land and they were very happy. That is why the poet uses these lines in this poem. Because my father and I are owned by the living warmth of the earth through our naked feet. He very clearly states the speaker and his father. They are owned by the living warmth of the earth. They belong to the earth which is lively, which is full of life, which has warmth in it. They walk on their barefoot on this earth. There is a close contact between the earth and their feet. So the Africans are a part of this earth. They are a part of nature. They lead a very pleasant life on this earth. Next, she talks about the good life led by the Africans. Africans are very, very happy and they are spiritual because they are in communion with nature. Since the Africans were in communion with nature, in close communion with nature, they led a very, very good life. The poet states, "My laughter is the fire. My laughter is the fire of the high of the sky, the fire of the earth, the fire of the air, the fire of the seas, and the fire of rivers, fishes, animals, trees." Fire is a symbol of warmness, symbol of energy, symbol of strength. So in the love of the Africans, there is fire, there is warmth, there is strength. This strength or this fire, they got it from the eye of the sky. Eye of the sky is the sun. They got it from the earth. Even earth has its own strength, its own fire. Even the air has its own fire. Even the seas, a large bodies of water, have their own strength. Rivers have their own strength. Creatures like fishes in the rivers and oceans have their own strength. Animals in the wild, they too have their own strength and fire. Trees and plants, each and every natural element has fire in it, warmth in it, energy in it. These Africans got their energy from all these natural elements. That is why they are very, very strong. They are as strong as the sky, they are as strong as the sun, as strong as the earth, as strong as the air, seas, rivers, fishes, animals, trees, so many other things. So they led a very good life. That is the second stage of their happiness. She talks about the third stage of their happiness. These Africans led a meaningful life. Their meaningful life is exhibited in the empowerment of the poet narrator, who is ex-colonized African subject. These colonized Africans got independence from the European colonizers. They fought for freedom and they got the freedom. After they got independence, they became free and they were empowered. Even the poet narrator in this poem is also empowered. He was colonized African subject earlier, but later he became free from the colonizers. So he found freedom from the colonizers. He empowered himself to mock at the colonizers. He got the strength, he got the energy, he got the freedom to laugh or mock at the colonizers. He retaliated the colonizers. He says in the poem, "And now it is my turn to laugh at the Europeans. But my laughter is not ice block." He compares his laughter, which is full of fire, with the ice block laughter of the Europeans, colonizers. You see, the laugh of the Africans is full of fire, whereas the laughter of the Europeans or colonizers is ice block. It has no life, no strength. Ice block laughter, for I know not cars, no, not ice blocks. Even though the Africans do not know the mechanical gadgets like cars and other things, like the Europeans, their laughter is full of fire. Their laughter is fire. It has the strength, it has the life, it has the awareness. So She points out these three different kinds of happiness the Africans enjoyed in their own land. So the poet uses some poetic devices, tools in this particular poem. Uh, he uses the symbol car. Car in the poem symbolizes the mechanical culture of the whites or the colonizers. You see, they use car for moving from one place to another, whereas the Africans use barefoot to move from one place to another. Car symbolizes the mechanical culture of the white people. On the other hand, barefoot refers the natural life of the Africans. That is a symbol used in this particular poem. And the poet uses certain similes in this poem. You know, simile is a comparison between two dissimilar things and finding one common quality in both the things. Then I opened my mystic inside wide like the sky. You see, the poet says the African opened is mystic inside. Here, mystic inside is compared to the sky, wide sky. The Africanness, African identity, African culture is very, very mysterious. Nobody can understand it easily. Europeans fail to understand it. The mystery of the African identity, African culture is as wide as the sky. You see the comparison. Sky is very, very wide and vast, we know that. Very difficult to measure the vastness of the sky. Similarly, the African inside is also very mysterious and it is wider. It is immeasurable. So there is a simile between these two things. These two things are different, dissimilar. Mystic inside is something different and the vast sky is something different. But the poet finds one common quality between these two. These two are very, very wide. So he uses metaphors in this poem. You know, metaphor is saying that one thing is another. The poet says, my laughter is the fire of the eye of the sky. Here laughter is compared to the fire. Laughter is called fire. It is the fire of the eye of the sky, fire of the earth, fire of the air, fire of the seas, fire of the rivers, fire of the trees and plants. So here laughter is compared to the fire. It is a metaphor. And he uses certain personifications. You know, personifications. Attributing human qualities to inanimate objects. Finding human qualities in things which have no life at all. Finding human qualities. You see, the poet uses these lines in the poem. I danced my magic dance to the rhythm of talking and drums fleeting. The poet danced his magic dance, African magic dance, mystic dance, to the rhythm of talking. They went on beating the drums rhythmically. The rhythmic beating of the drums is just like the talk of the drums. Here, it is human quality to talk. But the beat of the drums is compared to the talk of the human beings. Drums rhythm is compared to the talking. Similarly, the drums are pleading just like the human beings plead. They are pleading with the Europeans. The African drums do not produce a sound rhythmic sound and make them dance. Besides that, they are pleading with the Europeans, arguing with the Europeans that their culture is not primitive. There is meaning in their drum beat, meaning in their dance. So, through the drums and rhythms, the natives are speaking to the Europeans. The drums are speaking to the Europeans. Drums are the voice of the Africans. So, the drums and their rhythms are personified, attributed human qualities. So, the poem is satiric and it is a dramatic monologue. The poet or the narrator speaks to the white colonizer who listens to his words. These are some of the devices the poet uses in this particular poem. Let us revise whatever we learned so far about the structure of the poem and also the poetic devices the poet used in this poem. So, in this poem, the poet is more ironic and less tortured. The poem is more ironic. The poet ironically ridicules, belittles, or laughs at the Europeans for their Eurocentric view. But he does not torture the Europeans. Very mildly, he attacks the Europeans. The tone of this poem is very, very straightforward. He speaks straight away to the Europeans. His tone is proud without arrogance. The speaker is very proud of being an African. He feels proud of being African, but he is not arrogant with the Europeans. The tone is hurting without showing it. The poet very mildly attacks or retaliates the Europeans for belittling the African culture and the African people. But he does not show it outwardly. The poet is very blunt without rudeness. The tone of the poem is very blunt, but there is no rudeness. The speaker or the African speaker does not show any sort of rudeness to the Europeans. He is very, very blunt in his words. So the poem derails the European philanthropic mission of civilizing the uncivilized. In this poem, the poet categorically subverts, undermines, derails the European philanthropic mission. He does not agree with the Europeans who say that they are there in Africa to civilize these uncivilized people. It is a pretext to exploit the Africans and dominate on them. So this is very much derailed by the poet in this poem. So the Africans are integrated with the nature. It is very clearly stated in the poem that Africans are integrated or they are very much with nature. They live in nature. They are very close to nature, whereas the whites or the Europeans are live with the emissions, not with natural elements like rivers, oceans, suns, trees and plants. They lead a mechanical life, whereas the Africans lead an integrated with natural elements. So the Africans who had lost their primitive romanticism due to colonization got it back on attainment of the freedom. So they felt very happy and they got freedom and they started decolonizing the European culture imposed on them. So the poet subverts and laughs at the Europeans, ridicules the Europeans, rebukes the Europeans. let us assess whatever we have learned in this particular poem by going through some of the questions. Let us try to answer these questions. You see, the poet uses the phrase in this poem. The phrase, and now it is my turn to love, shows. There is a phrase in the poem, and now it is my turn to love. This phrase shows what? Four options are there: the empowerment of the Africans, the pleasant life of the Africans, the good life of the Africans, the meaningful life of the Africans. Yes. And now it is my turn to love shows that the Africans are empowered. It shows the empowerment of the Africans. They got freedom and they were empowered to laugh at the Europeans. The fire of the Africans' laughter is not derived from which one of the following? The poet very clearly states in the poem that Africans got the fire of their laughter from various natural elements. But here the question is, they did not derive their laughter from which one of the following elements? Fishes, animals, trees and rocks. Let us see the answer. Rocks. Africans did not derive the fire of their laughter from the rocks. They got the fire of their laughter from so many other natural elements like trees, plants, rivers, oceans, but not from rocks. I danced my magic dance to the rhythm of talking, drums pleading. The figure of speech used in this line here is simile, metaphor, hyperbole, personification. Yes, the figure of speech used in this line is personification. The tone of the speaker in the poem is straightforward, arrogant, hurting, rude. The tone of the speaker is straightforward. He doesn't beat about the bush. He addresses the white listener. In the title of the poem, you laughed and laughed. Which one of the following laugh is not included? The whites laugh at African song. The whites laugh at African walk. The whites laugh at African dance. The African laugh at whites frozen emotions. The African laugh at the whites frozen emotions is not included in the title of the poem. Because the poet says, you laughed and laughed. Here you refers to the colonizers, European colonizers. So they laugh at the dance, walk and the music of the Africans. So that is why this African laugh at the whites frozen emotions is not included in the title of the poem. These are all the websites that I visited for preparing this presentation. Thank you for listening.